Raw Story and The Conversation have an article that's totally out of left field on the issue of drug legalization. They say the following: after Uruguay legalized the use of cannabis under a new drug policy, could Iran be the next country to make it legal? Not kidding. They go on. Iran has a conspicuous drug addiction problem, which officially accounts for more than 2 million addicts. Drug traffickers risk harsh punishments that include the death penalty, yet Iran also has, this is so random, very progressive policies towards drug addiction, which include distribution of clean needles to injecting drug users, methadone substitution programs, including in prison, and a vast system of addiction treatment. They say there's over 6,000 methadone clinics in Iran. During a recent conference on addiction held in Tehran, Saeed Sefatian, a prominent Iranian official, illustrated what could become a potential alternative to Iran's current drug policy, including a move which could include measures towards legalization of cannabis and opium. Sefatian suggests reintroducing the cultivation of plants such as poppy and cannabis under state supervision, legalization of cannabis and opium use under specific circumstances outlined by ad hoc laws, for instance, only in private places, and for opium only for people above a certain age. The latter, in particular, is reminiscent of pre-1979 revolution drug laws, where opium vouchers were distributed to all registered opium users above the age of 50. If Iran were able to reform its drug policy, the prison population would drop remarkably, given that in the current condition, about 60 to 70% of inmates are charged with drug-related offenses. It's almost like they're following the U.S. in that one. The state would access new economic resources through the production and selling of previously illegal drugs, which are today the turf of large criminal networks. Just like prohibition in the U.S., like we always talk about. The agricultural sector would benefit greatly from the cultivation of cannabis and poppy, and the land is suitable for these crops. And new financial resources could enhance public awareness campaigns. Guys, I'm going to plead to policymakers in the United States of America right now. Don't let a theocracy beat us. Don't let a theocracy be more intelligent than us when it comes to drug policy. Right? That might already be the case right now with their clean needle program, for example, and everything that they laid out here. Now, I mean, I guess the U.S. is slightly ahead because we have a few states that have legalized marijuana, even though at a federal level it's illegal, and they throw the fucking book at you for doing it. I actually don't even know how I would draw up the scorecard here in terms of who's more progressive on this front. But this is Iran randomly making sense. Another thing that really fucking blew my mind that I didn't know much about until recently is that Iran actually used to have fully subsidized sex reassignment surgery. What the fuck, dude? It's like they have an identity crisis. On the one hand, they're just a super strict Islamic theocracy, and on the other hand, every once in a while, something sneaks through where it's like they're just more progressive than anybody. Who does that? State-funded sex reassignment surgeries, and then now I think they changed it a little bit, and they made it like half state-funded, and the other half is like a loan program, and you pay it off over time. And if I'm not mistaken, all that happened simply because somebody who's transgender like begged the Ayatollah and convinced the Ayatollah. And the Ayatollah was like, it shall be sex reassignment for anybody for any reason whatsoever. It's so weird. I mean, this entire, it really does blow the mind of people in the West, including myself, that on some issues, if they're not already ahead of us, they're going to be shortly. So this is me pleading to policymakers in the U.S. Do not let an Islamic theocracy beat us on the issue of treating drug criminals in a more humane way. If they can figure it out, and liberals here have figured it out, and, you know, other places around the world, Portugal with their decriminalization program, if they've figured it out, what the fuck are we waiting for, man? And unfortunately, we know the answer to that. We have entrenched bureaucracies making a tremendous amount of money from drugs being illegal. A lot of people's livelihoods are dependent upon drugs continuing to be illegal. The entire DEA. If you legalize, tax, and regulate drugs, the DEA, you'd have to lay off almost all of them. I mean, I'm sure there'd be some people there for some reasons, some regulatory reasons, but a lot of them would lose their job. They don't want that to happen. The pharmaceutical industry has been lobbying against the legalization of marijuana and other drugs for a very long time now. Did you know that the old school Partnership for a Drug-Free America, they were in part funded by the tobacco companies and the alcohol companies? Hello, irony. But they did that because, in reality, what they were pushing for is an America free of drugs that are our competition. That's what it was about. So, we got to fight back against these entrenched bureaucracies where people make a tremendous amount of money. I have trouble saying the word entrenched. I don't know if you guys caught that. We have to fight back against these entrenched, bureaucracies. Because just because people make money in the system as it exists right now doesn't mean it's right. You know, I can, as many libertarians have pointed out in the past to me, I could pay you $100 a day to take toenail clippers and clip my front lawn. Does that mean that job should exist? No, that job doesn't make any sense. I mean, and this is even worse than that because at least that's relatively benign and just that it's a wasted job. With the DEA and with people locking people up for doing drugs, you're waging a war on freedom. You're waging a war on people having the right and having the liberty to put in their body what they want to slightly tweak their consciousness. Why should the state be involved in, if I want to feel in adrenaline rush, or if I want to feel a dopamine rush, or serotonin, or norepinephrine, or whatever other fucking chemicals there are in your head. They should have no business here. And for all the people who are addicts, they should get treatment. And for the 80 to 90% of people who can take drugs and use them responsibly and have no problem with it, they should be free to take it without worrying about being thrown in a fucking cage where people forget about you. So don't let Iran beat us. I'm happy that Iran's moving in the right direction. Go right ahead. Keep going in the right direction. But we need to also move in the right direction. At the very least, decriminalize. But what we should do is legalize, tax, and regulate.